Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how I made this card. I have two versions of this. This one was given to me for achieving a new level inside Stampin' Up! From my upline, Wanda Williams, and I was just so taken with this card. And I talked to Wanda and asked her if she minded I did a video. She said go for it. And this was the first card I made using this design, and I used different papers. Now these papers were from the old catalog and so have retired. So today I thought I would change my colors up again and do something out of the current catalog. And so what you need to make this card, I used a card base of Flirty Flamingo, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then you need 2 pieces of Whisper White that measure 5 1/4 by 4. Then I'm using some of this beautiful Delightful Daisy Designer Series paper, and I'll show you a little bit more about that in a second. This piece is 2.5 inches by 5 1/4. Then I have a piece of that that is a 1/2 inch by 5 1/4. Then another piece of Flirty Flamingo that is 2.5 by 3 1/2. And then a piece of Whisper White that's 2 1/4 by 3 1/4, and then you need some scraps of white, and in this case, because this is my base, Flirty Flamingo, and then this beautiful paper. And I wanted to share with you some of the paper. We can finally share what's in the catalog. It's so exciting. Share with you some of this beautiful paper, and the catalog just doesn't do it justice. Let's see. Let me see if I can find. Oh, this was a page I wanted to show that uses the paper that Wanda used in her design, and so she used some of these papers here to make this one, and you can see how much more vibrant that is when you see it here. This is a tremendous deal. This is Fresh Floral Designer Series paper, so it's in all of the Incolor, the new Incolors, Berry Burst and Fig, and the Lemon Lime Twist and the Powder Pink, and then the Tranquil Tide. And it is 12 by 12 pieces of paper that are unbound, and this is 40 sheets for $22. And it's 4 different designs of each pattern of each color. And it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's done in a similar pattern to the paper that we had last year in this Floral Phrases set. And it's just gorgeous, and there's coordinating ribbons and so on. This is just a wonderful wonderful thing. Now the paper that I'm using today is out of this Delightful Daisy Designer Series paper, and this is what it looks like in the catalog. But I gotta tell you that in real life this stuff is just so gorgeous. There is this, of course, their designer series paper most of the time is double-sided. This is the one I'm using today, but I just made a beautiful card using this this floral paper, and I think I posted a video using this paper just the other day. And there's additional paper in here of various different designs. There's this beautiful denim paper with daisies. It's just gorgeous, and so this is what I'll be using today. The other thing that I'll be using is the Beautiful You stamp set, and I am using this representation of the girl, and I'm using this stamp here as dress, and I'm using this sentiment here that just says celebrate. I thought that would be really good because it opens it up for just about anything you might need. Celebrate, and then inside it could say happy birthday. It could be about anything. Okay, so let's just get started, and I'm going to set these cards aside here, and we'll just start working on our card. So the first thing I'm going to do, and you'll pardon me, we finally had the wedding for my son this last weekend, and it turned out absolutely fabulous. And of course I ran like a fool for 4 days and I think I wore myself down, and now I've gotten this little cold, and so I hope that you can hear me clearly. I will try and enunciate. So the first thing we're going to do is fold and burnish our card at 4 1/4. And then I have my 2 pieces of Whisper White, one for the inside and one for the outside. And we're just going to go ahead and put some adhesive on those and get those papers mounted straight away. I don't know if I said, but the paper I used for this one is now retired. So I wanted to make sure I did this because the catalog is live today. And so we will be able to get in and order new stuff starting today. I have my order all ready to go. And here it's not yet noon, and our site will be up and open for business at noon today as they transition from the old catalog to the new catalog. And I've got my order ready to go, and as soon as I'm finished with this video, I'll probably go right on and get my material ordered. So I'm going to put this piece of Whisper White on the inside and the outside, and these, neither one is raised. This is just got some adhesive on it, and I just use snail, and putting that down on my card. That looks like it's got a little, okay, I'll do a little surgery on that later. In fact, this whole piece has got little bits and pieces on it. I think the first thing I'm going to do is turn this around. Here, because one of the things that I can do is, it looks like there's just a little ink smudge over here. One of the things I'm going to do is use this piece of 1/2 inch by 5 1/4 as decoration on the inside of the card, and I can lay that right across that little smudge, and nobody will ever be the wiser. So there we go. That's part of our decoration. Now, on these pieces of scrap, what I have done is I've taken our balloon punch, and I've punched out this smaller balloon a couple of times here. And let's see here. I'm going to cut one of them here, and one of them from there. And I actually have another one already cut out. And then I'm going to cut a couple from this Flirty Flamingo. And we'll just go ahead and do our decorations on the inside of our card here and get that complete. Okay, so what I did here was I laid down this Flirty Flamingo balloon just right up here on the top. And then I took one of my DSP balloons here and laid it down a bit off to an angle. And then I just used a gel pen. Let me see if I can get my hands on it again. And just drew a couple of strings down here, and that completes the inside decoration for the card. Isn't that cute? And that way we repeat the pattern of the paper across more than once. All right, now on the front of the card, I have cut a piece of this same designer series paper, 2.5 inches by 5 1/4. And my plan is that that would go right along this edge. So we're going to go ahead and just add this. It's got a few pieces to it, but really it's quite a simple card to make. And I think the impact is pretty powerful. Let's see, I think I'm going to have it be this way. And slide that into place here. Then I'm going to take my 2 pieces of the Whisper White and the Flirty Flamingo. And first I'm going to do a little stamping on the Whisper White. And what I've done is mounted my stamps for what I'm going to need to make this. And we'll start with a little bit of our archival black ink. And I'm going to go ahead and add the girl to my Whisper White panel here. And I'm going to stamp her kind of down a bit on the card and a little over to the left. And that's so that I have enough room for my balloons up top and along here for my celebrate on that end. So, and she doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but just a nice image down here in this kind of corner, I think. And there we have a nice image. Now, while I have it out, I will do my celebrate stamp on my piece of scrap Whisper White. And what you want to do, I'm using a couple of dies from the layering ovals, and you just want to make sure that your sentiment would fit neatly inside the sentiment or the die that you're going to be using. And so I want to stamp this so that there's enough of a margin all the way around that I can put my die on it and have plenty of room. So there's my celebrate, and that's all I'll need the black ink for. So I can set that aside now. And the next thing I'm going to do is use this image of the dress here, kind of scribbled, and I'm going to use the Flirty Flamingo to cover her dress like I did on these cards. Now on this one that Wanda did, she paper pieced, so you would just stamp on your designer series paper and cut that out and add it. She just paper pieced both the hat and the dress. Well, I did this for a class, and my class really does not like to paper piece. They get so frustrated with it that I thought if I made them paper piece that dress, they'd run me out of town. So on this particular one, I did the stamp, and this way you can see both ways, and I'll show you on the stamp. It was a little tricky to get this dress stamped so that it really covered the dress. A bunch of times that it was kind of off one side and off the other, or too far down. And what I found was that if I used as a guide these pieces down here and this shoulder up here and set my stamp down between those two elements, that it was pretty straight most of the time. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to sort of just get that little X down there where I can see it just outside the stamp, and then come straight down. It feels like you're stamping her chin, but you're basically not. And there, it's almost a perfect image of her dress. Could have been a little bit more that way. But I find that if I can see that X just on the outside of my stamp, I get a pretty good image most of the time. And it's up a little further than you would guess. Anyway, so, and I think that is all I need this ink for as well. So I can put the Flirty Flamingo aside, and I'm just going to adhere this piece onto my flirty background here. Out of adhesive. I see just a tiny bit of an end here I need to clip away. Now I'm going to put this and center this piece on this Flirty Flamingo, and then what I decided to do was to raise this piece up on dimensionals, and then do a combination of gluing down and raising the balloons. And you could do that, or you could make them all flat. It's really up to you. So now we're going to take this piece back, and I'm going to remove the backing on these dimensionals. Like I said, it really is pretty fast card. I was surprised. So I'm going to set this down a little bit up, and in about, I'd say that's 3/4 of an inch. And spend a little bit of time trying to get that straight. There, I think that'll work. All right, then to save a little bit of time, I went ahead and cut out another Celebrate, and then using the 2 dies that I thought nested reasonably well on here, I cut a scalloped oval and then the plain oval here. And so I am going to adhere those 2 pieces together. And I'm going to have to switch glue here. And if you just lay down your piece without pushing down hard, you can get it put in place and still move it around until you are happy with how you've got it centered. And that looks pretty good to me, so I'll put that in place. Now on this, in order, because this panel has been raised and I want this to go along here, I'm going to put 1 dimensional on this side over towards the end, and I'm going to put a little bit of snail on this end. And that way, this end here will just be glued to this front, and this dimensional on this side will help raise the panel so that it's the same height as this raised panel here. Okay, now we cut out some of those balloons, and I have a couple of balloons out of the Designer Series paper, and another one done out of the Flirty Flamingo. And I am going to adhere the first one down flat. Actually, I do want it a bit off. Maybe I will put a little half a dimensional, one of the bones here on the end. Underneath that balloon is, so because I've got it set off quite a bit from the panel, and that little half a dimensional there will help support it in place. There we go. And these I managed to pull up here, but this looked to me almost to be a little crowded in doing those lines. And on this one, I noticed they were a little bit further away, so I'm going to try the little bit further away. Now on this one, I just need a single dimensional kind of on the bottom in the middle, and I can set that sort of off and maybe a bit above this one. Then my last one, I put a dimensional more on this end to make it the same height, and did the same thing I did with the sign below, and that is to add a little glue to that end so that it'll stick to the top of the other balloon. And there we go. I feel a lot more comfortable about where I'm going to be drawing those lines to her hand on this one than I was on that one. So now I'm going to do just that. I am going to draw a line with my gel pen right down to her hand so that it looks like she's hanging on to these balloons. And there we go. Isn't that just the prettiest combination? I just love this beautiful U-stamp set. It has just been a delight. And then now that we have all of these fabulous papers, the papers in the new catalog are just amazing. So there we have our project for the day. That's decorated on the inside. It says celebrate and can go for lots of different kinds of occasions. And here we have it in three different styles. Now this one, Wanda used the stitched framelits, a circle stitched framelit here, and she used some of those papers that I showed you in the in color. This is the Berry Burst color. This one, these papers are retired. I'm sad to see them go because I love that combination of colors. But everything that you see here can be ordered from my website, www.lbettinger.stampinup.net. And I hope you give this a try. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. I'm about this afternoon to make the prize draw for last month. And for this month, the prize draw will be a set of the Stampin' Up! Ink pads for the new Incolors. It's a $27.50 value in the catalog, and it's a set of all 5 of the ink pads. So again, I hope you will give it a try, and thanks so much for stopping by my YouTube. Usually in the material below I list my telephone number. If you're interested in being on my team, I'd love to have you join. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon. Bye.